The celebration at the Jupiter diplomatic station lasted exactly 47 minutes. Then the alarm started screaming. Captain Jiwan was the first to react. Her hand went to her communication device before the sound even fully registered. "Report!" Lieutenant Suman's voice came through tight with controlled urgency. "Multiple contacts. 60-plus vessels dropping out of FTL near Mars orbit. They're not broadcasting Council identification codes." Ambassador Hyunwoo stood so quickly his chair fell over. "That's inside the perimeter. How did they get past the satellites?" "They used Council override codes," Suman replied. "Stolen or leaked. The satellites thought they were authorized Council vessels until they changed course toward Earth." Captain Jiwan was already running toward the hangar. Hyunwoo followed, with Specialist Boram close behind. On the other side of the station, the Council delegation had stopped celebrating. Admiral Thorax's face showed something humans recognized instantly: horror. "It's the rogue faction," Thorax said. "The ones who voted against negotiation. They must have planned this during the talks. They're going to try to conquer Earth while we're here congratulating ourselves on making peace." Council Speaker Velis glowed with what could only be rage. "Contact them. Order them to stand down immediately." "They won't listen," Hyunwoo said flatly. "They think they're saving the galaxy from a dangerous species. They think they're heroes." At Outpost Sentinel, Commander Daehyun watched the tactical display with cold focus. The rogue fleet had bypassed the outer defenses using stolen codes. It was a clever trick. It would also be their last mistake. "All stations battle Protocol Sigma-7, he ordered. "Wake up the inner sphere." Across the solar system, systems that had remained dormant for centuries began to activate. The moon, which tourists visited and scientists studied, revealed its true purpose. Hidden doors opened across the far side, exposing massive weapon arrays. Not the precision instruments of the satellite network, but something else, something designed for a different kind of defense. On Mars, the atmospheric generators that humans claimed were for terraforming shifted configuration. Energy began building in their cores. The red planet's defense grid came alive. The rogue fleet consisted of extremists and mercenaries, species that believed humanity represented an existential threat. They had brought overwhelming force: dreadnoughts, carrier groups, weapons platforms that could destroy planets. They expected Earth's defenses to be concentrated at the perimeter. They thought they had outsmarted the humans. They were about to learn why humanity had spent 3 centuries preparing. "Incoming transmission from the hostile fleet," Lieutenant Suman reported. Commander Daehyun listened as their leader made demands. "Immediate surrender, full disclosure of all technology, submission to Council authority, or they would begin orbital bombardment." Daehyun's response was simple. "No." The rogue fleet opened fire. Missiles and energy weapons streaked toward Earth, thousands of warheads designed to break through any defense. Then the moon moved. Not physically, but the gravitational field around it shifted. This was humanity's secret weapon, the one they had never revealed. 3 centuries of studying physics had led to breakthroughs the galaxy didn't know were possible. Humans had learned to manipulate gravity itself. The missiles stopped. Not destroyed, not intercepted, simply stopped, frozen in space by gravitational forces so precise they could halt objects without crushing them. Thousands of warheads hung motionless, suspended in an invisible net. The rogue fleet's commander shouted in disbelief. "That's impossible." "No," Commander Daehyun replied calmly. "Just difficult. We've had 300 years to solve difficult problems." The gravitational net expanded, reaching out from the moon like invisible fingers. It touched the rogue fleet's ships and stopped them cold. 60 vessels that had been moving at combat speed suddenly couldn't move at all. They were trapped, held in place by forces they couldn't understand or counter. On Mars, engineer Hyejin activated the planetary defense grid. The atmospheric generators that everyone thought were for making the planet livable revealed their true purpose. They were energy collectors and projectors, capable of creating shields that could protect the entire planet. But they could also do something else. A beam of concentrated energy lanced out from Mars, so precisely aimed that it disabled the weapon systems of 3 rogue dreadnoughts in less than a second. Then another beam, and another. The red planet had become a sniper rifle, picking off threats with impossible accuracy. At Jupiter Station, everyone watched in stunned silence as the battle unfolded on their displays. It wasn't really a battle. It was a demonstration By the ancient stars, Admiral Thorax whispered. Gravitational manipulation. Planetary-scale directed energy weapons. What else have you built? Captain G1, who had stopped running when she realized the battle was already won, smiled grimly. That's the question everyone should have been asking 3 centuries ago. The rogue fleet was completely immobilized. Their weapons disabled. Their ships held in place by gravitational forces they couldn't overcome. And through it all, not a single crew member had been harmed. Life support remained functional. Hull integrity was maintained. Humans had once again demonstrated they could destroy anyone who threatened them, but chose not to. Commander Daehyun opened a channel to the entire rogue fleet. You came here to conquer Earth. You believed you were acting heroically, saving the galaxy from a dangerous species. Let me show you who the dangerous ones really are. On every ship in the rogue fleet, displays activated showing Earth. Not military installations or weapons platforms, just Earth. Cities full of people going about their lives. Children playing in parks. Scientists working in laboratories. Artists creating. Engineers building. Billions of humans living peacefully. This is what you came to conquer, Daehyun said. These are the people you wanted to subjugate. Look at them. They're not monsters. They're not conquerors. They're just people who wanted to live free. And when you threatened that freedom, this is what happened. He gestured to the disabled fleet around them. You're being held by gravitational fields generated from our moon. You're being targeted by energy weapons based on Mars. These are just 2 planets in our defensive network. We have others. Stations you can't see. Weapons you can't imagine. All of it built over 3 centuries by people who were determined to never be victims again. The transmission shifted to show the 1,000 satellites still orbiting at the system's edge. Those satellites were our warning, our message to the galaxy that we demanded respect. You saw them and thought they were a bluff. Others will make the same mistake. So let me be absolutely clear. Earth's defenses are not a bluff. They're a promise. Anyone who comes in peace will be welcomed. Anyone who comes with weapons will face this. On the Jupiter station, Council Speaker Velas glowed with what might have been admiration. They disabled a fleet twice the size of the first one and did it in less than 5 minutes. Without killing anyone. That level of control is remarkable. That level of restraint is remarkable, Ambassador Hyunwoo corrected. The control is just technology. The choice not to kill is what defines humanity. Admiral Thorax was already coordinating with his loyal council forces. The rogue faction would face galactic justice for their unauthorized attack. Their vessels would be seized. Their leaders would be tried. But first, they had to figure out how to free them from Earth's gravitational trap. Commander Daehyun provided the solution. With a simple command, the gravitational fields released their hold. The rogue ships drifted free, weapons disabled but otherwise functional. You're free to go, Daehyun told them. Council forces will escort you back for judgment. But before you leave, understand this. Today you learned that Earth cannot be conquered. Take that message back to anyone else who might be considering similar actions. We don't want war, but we're very, very good at it. 3 days later, a new treaty was signed. This one was more comprehensive than the first. Earth's sovereignty was guaranteed not just in words, but with explicit guarantees. Any attack on Earth would be considered an attack on the galactic order itself. The rogue faction had inadvertently done humanity a favor by proving Earth's defensive capabilities beyond any doubt. 5 years passed. Specialist Borum, now Ambassador Borum, stood in the diplomatic section of Hansong Station. The station had grown significantly, now hosting permanent embassies from dozens of species. Trade flowed regularly between Earth and various galactic civilizations. Cultural exchanges brought alien students to Earth universities and human artists to perform across the galaxy. Earth had opened up. Not completely, not carelessly, but enough to engage with the wider galaxy on their own terms. Borum was meeting with Kess, the young alien diplomat she had befriended during the negotiations. He had become Earth's most consistent advocate in the Council, arguing that humanity's model of defensive strength and selective engagement was something others could learn from. Your people have changed the galaxy, Kess said. His antennae twitched with what Borum had learned was excitement. 3 smaller species have started building their own defensive networks. They're not trying to match Earth's power, but they're refusing to accept unfavorable terms from larger powers. They're citing humanity's example. The station appeared in Jupiter's orbit exactly 48 hours after Earth had proposed the meeting. That speed shocked the Council delegation. Most species needed months to construct a diplomatic facility. Humans had built one in 2 days. The station was beautiful in its simplicity. A rotating ring that generated artificial gravity, with docking ports for various ship types and atmospheres. It was designed to accommodate oxygen breathers, methane breathers, and even species that lived in liquid environments. Every detail had been considered. Ambassador Hyunwoo arrived first. He wore a simple gray suit that somehow managed to look both formal and comfortable. With him came Captain Ji-won, serving as security chief, and Specialist Borum, a young woman in her 20s who had been chosen specifically because she had studied every known alien culture. Borum was nervous. She tried not to show it, but her hands shook slightly as she checked the translation equipment one more time. "Relax," Captain Ji-won said with a slight smile. "They're more nervous than you are." "How can you tell?" "Because we've spent 300 years learning about them. They've spent 3 weeks learning about us, and everything they've learned has been surprising." The Council delegation arrived an hour later. Admiral Thorax led them, his 4 arms moving in what Borum recognized as a gesture of cautious respect. Behind him came Council Speaker Velis, an ancient being that resembled a floating collection of luminescent crystals. There were also economic representatives, including someone named Trade Magnate Crix, whose species had built an empire on commerce. The 2 groups met in a large circular chamber at the station's center. Through the transparent ceiling, Jupiter's massive form dominated the view. The planet's storm swirled in eternal motion, a reminder that some forces were beyond control. "Welcome," Ambassador Hyunwoo said simply. He didn't bow, didn't make grand gestures, didn't use flowery diplomatic language. "Thank you for coming. Please sit. We have much to discuss." The aliens arranged themselves around the table. The furniture adjusted automatically to accommodate their different body types. Another small touch that showed human attention to detail. Council Speaker Velis spoke first. His communication took the form of light pulses that the translation system converted to words. "We have lived for 3,000 of your years. We have seen civilizations rise and fall. We have witnessed wars and peace, cooperation and betrayal. Never have we seen what you humans have accomplished. Such focus, such unity, such patience." "Thank you," Hyunwoo replied calmly. "But we must ask, what do you want? You've demonstrated your strength. You've proven you cannot be forced into submission. So what comes next? Will you join the Council? Will you trade with us? Will you share your technology? What are your terms?" Hyunwoo leaned back in his chair. "Our terms are simple: sovereignty. We want complete control over our own system, our own policies, our own future. We want recognition that Earth is an independent power, not subject to Council authority." Trade Magnate Crix made a gesture that the translation system labeled as skeptical amusement. "Everyone wants sovereignty, but no one can achieve it alone. The galaxy runs on cooperation, on trade and mutual defense, on shared resources and combined strength." "We understand that," Hyunwoo said, "but we've seen how your cooperation works. Younger species join the Council and find themselves trapped in trade agreements they can't escape. They become dependent on Council technology, Council resources, Council protection. Eventually, they lose the ability to stand on their own. That's not sovereignty. That's just comfortable slavery." The chamber fell silent. No one had expected such blunt language. Admiral Thorax spoke carefully. "You're not wrong. The galaxy's systems do favor established powers. But what's the alternative? Complete isolation? That's what you've practiced for 3 centuries. It protected you, yes, but it also limited you. Did it?" Captain Ji-won asked. "In 300 years, we've colonized our entire solar system. We've built defenses that your best fleets can't breach. We've achieved technological advances that surprise you, all while maintaining peace among ourselves. Most species in the Council are still fighting internal conflicts even after millennia. We solved our problems in 3 centuries. Council Speaker Velis pulsed in a way that suggested contemplation. "Because you had a common purpose, a shared enemy, even if that enemy was just the possibility of conquest. Remove that unifying threat and humans might fracture just like everyone else." Borum surprised herself by speaking up. "Or maybe we've learned something about cooperation that others haven't. We had to unite. We had no choice. But in doing so, we discovered that working together actually made us stronger, not weaker." She blushed immediately after speaking. realizing she had interrupted beings far more important than herself. But Velis seemed intrigued rather than offended. "You are young, human child, but you speak with insight. Perhaps there is wisdom in your species' approach." The negotiation continued for hours. Earth wanted formal recognition of their independence. The Council wanted access to human technology, especially defensive systems. Earth refused. The Council offered trade agreements. Earth was interested, but only on equal terms, not as a junior partner. Trade magnate Crix grew frustrated. "You have to give us something. We came here in good faith. We're offering you access to thousands of worlds, millions of markets, resources beyond your wildest dreams. And you offer nothing in return?" "We offer respect," Hyunwoo said quietly. "We offer trade and basic goods. We offer cultural exchange. We offer diplomatic relations. But we won't sell our defenses. We won't share weapons technology, and we won't compromise our sovereignty for economic benefits. That's not how the galaxy works." "Then maybe it's time the galaxy learned a new way of working." The statement hung in the air. For 300 years, the Council had operated under certain assumptions. Species joined, accepted their place in the hierarchy, and worked their way up over time. Humanity was proposing something different. They wanted to skip the hierarchy entirely. Council Speaker Velis glowed more brightly, a sign of deep thought. Finally, he spoke. "You're right." Every being in the chamber turned to look at the ancient speaker. "The galactic order is flawed. We all know it, even if we don't speak of it openly. Old powers maintain control through economic coercion. Young species are absorbed and exploited. We tell ourselves it's for the common good, but often it's simply for the good of those already in power." Velis turned his crystalline form toward Hyunwoo. "Earth has the strength to demand better treatment. Most species don't have that strength when they first make contact. So they accept unfavorable terms because they have no choice. You humans spent 3 centuries ensuring you would have a choice. I can't decide if that's brilliant or simply stubbornly paranoid. Can't it be both?" Hyunwoo asked with a slight smile. For the first time, something like humor passed through the chamber. The tension eased slightly. Over the next 3 days, they hammered out the basics of an agreement. Earth would maintain complete sovereignty over their solar system. No Council ships would enter without permission. Earth would open limited trade relations, but only in non-military goods. Cultural and scientific exchanges would be welcomed. Most importantly, Earth would be recognized as an independent power, not a Council member state. It wasn't everything the Council wanted, but it was more than they had before. On the final day of negotiations, Specialist Borum found herself talking with a young alien diplomat named Kess. He was curious about everything human. "What's Earth like?" Kess asked. His species was vaguely insectoid, with multiple eyes and delicate antennae. "Beautiful," Borum said. "Blue oceans and green forests, mountains and deserts, cities full of people living their lives. It's home." "And you defended it by building weapons?" "We defended it by building the ability to say no. The weapons are just tools. What matters is that no one can force us to do anything against our will." Kess's antennae twitched thoughtfully. "I wish my species had made that choice. We joined the Council 2 centuries ago. Now we're so dependent on Council trade that we can't make any major decisions without approval. We have a seat at the table, but we're not really free." Borum felt a surge of sympathy. Maybe things will change. Maybe Earth's example will inspire others. "Maybe," Kess said hopefully. "Or maybe you're just unique. Either way, I'm glad to meet you. Glad to know that someone chose differently." When the negotiations finally concluded, Ambassador Hyunwoo and Council Speaker Velis signed the formal agreement. It was a strange document, unlike any treaty in galactic history. Earth wasn't joining anything. They were simply agreeing to coexist. As the Council delegation prepared to depart, Admiral Thorax approached Captain Jiwon. "Your defensive systems," he said. "They're really as strong as you've demonstrated?" "Stronger," Jiwon replied. "The satellites are just the outer layer, but you'll never need to find out what's behind them, because we're not enemies." "No," Thorax agreed. "I suppose we're not." As the alien ships departed, Borum stood with Hyunwoo watching Jupiter's storms. "Do you think it will last?" she asked. "The agreement? I think we've bought ourselves time," Hyunwoo replied. "Time to build relationships. Time to prove that strength and peace can coexist. Time for the galaxy to learn that Earth won't be pushed around." Admiral Thorax sat in his disabled flagship and tried to understand what had happened. His engineering teams had spent 3 days examining the damage to the FTL drive. Their conclusion was disturbing. The human weapon had been so precise that it melted only the critical components, leaving everything else untouched. That level of accuracy required technology far beyond what the Council possessed. The rescue fleet had arrived yesterday. Now 24 Council ships sat at the perimeter, afraid to cross the line where 53 others had been disabled. The humans had been true to their word, though. Supply shuttles were allowed through. Food, water, spare parts for life support systems. Everything needed to keep thousands of alien crew members alive and comfortable. But not FTL drives. Those would have to be repaired back at Council shipyards. Another message from Earth, his communication officer reported. Thorax sighed. Play it. A different human face appeared on the screen. This one was old, ancient even, with white hair and deep wrinkles. But the eyes were sharp and intelligent. "My name is Dr. Mire," the human said. "I was the first person on Earth to decode your languages and communications. That was 300 years ago. I'm quite old now, as you can see. These are my final recorded messages made before my death 10 years ago. The current Earth leadership thought you should hear them. Perhaps they will help you understand." The image changed. Now it showed Dr. Mire as she had been centuries ago, young and excited. She sat in a laboratory surrounded by computers and translation equipment. "We received your first message today," young Mire said to the camera, "from a species called the Council. They say they represent hundreds of civilizations spanning thousands of star systems. They're inviting Earth to join them, to become part of a galactic community. It's everything humanity dreamed of. We're not alone in the universe." The image shifted forward in time. Mire was older now, perhaps 40. Her excitement had faded. "I've spent 15 years studying Council communications. Every broadcast, every trade negotiation, every diplomatic exchange. I thought I would find wisdom. I found something else. The galaxy is not evil, but it's not the utopia we imagined either. It's politics and power. It's old species exploiting young ones. It's trade monopolies and military threats and endless, exhausting compromises." Another jump forward. Mire was 60 now, speaking to a room full of Earth's leaders. "I recommend we decline their invitation. Not out of fear or arrogance, out of wisdom. If we join the Council, we'll be the newest members. The weakest. Other species will want to use us, control us, extract value from us. We'll spend centuries fighting for basic respect. Or we can take a different path. We can develop in secret, build ourselves strong, and only engage with the galaxy when we're ready, when we can negotiate from a position of equality." The final image showed Mire on her deathbed, speaking weakly but with certainty. 300 years we've remained silent. Some of you will question whether it was worth it, whether isolation was the right choice. I believe it was. Not because the galaxy is evil, but because we needed time. Time to grow. Time to unite. Time to become strong enough that no one could take our freedom away. The galaxy will be angry when they learn what we've built. Let them be angry. Better they respect us out of fear than absorb us out of pity. The recording ended. Admiral Thorax sat in silence. Around him, his bridge crew had watched the entire message. "She understood us," someone whispered. Thorax nodded slowly. "She did. Better than we understood ourselves." A new message came through, this time from Director Young-Ho, head of something called the Black Sky Initiative. "Admiral Thorax, I'm sure you're wondering what we've been doing for 300 years. Allow me to show you." The transmission included video footage. Thorax watched as images flashed across his screen. The moon, but not as the Council's databases described it. The entire far side had been converted into massive manufacturing facilities. Factories that could build ships, weapons, satellites. Production capacity that rivaled entire planets. Mars, transformed from a dead world into a thriving industrial center. Millions of humans living in sealed cities, all dedicated to building Earth's defenses. The asteroid belt, no longer a random collection of rocks. It had been mined, restructured, and turned into a network of defensive platforms. Each platform housed weapons and sensors. Together, they formed an impenetrable shield around the inner solar system. And finally, the Kuiper Belt. Those 1,000 satellites that had disabled his fleet. The footage showed them being built over 2 centuries. Slowly positioned into their perfect sphere. Each one a masterpiece of engineering and power. This is what we built while you debated politics, Director Young-ho said. This is what we accomplished while you formed your alliances and fought your trade wars. We had one goal: make Earth unconquerable. I believe we succeeded, the message ended. Thorax felt something he hadn't experienced in decades: genuine admiration. These humans had dedicated 3 centuries to a single purpose. No species in the galaxy had that kind of focus, sir, his tactical officer said hesitantly. If these are just the visible defenses, what else might they have? That was the terrifying question. What else was hidden in Earth's solar system? What weapons had they built that they hadn't revealed yet? Another message arrived, this time from Engineer Hyejin, the woman who had designed the satellite network. I know you're afraid, she said simply. Good. Fear is the beginning of respect. But I want you to understand something important. We didn't build these defenses to conquer. We built them to ensure we could never be conquered. There's a difference. She pulled up technical diagrams of the satellite system. Each satellite contains power equivalent to a small star. Each one can target multiple vessels simultaneously. The entire network is controlled by quantum computers running artificial intelligence programs. There's no delay, no hesitation. When you crossed our perimeter, the system identified every ship, calculated the optimal targeting solution for each one, and executed the attack in less than 4 seconds. She paused, letting that sink in. But here's what you should really understand. The system has protocols. It never targets life support. It never aims for crew compartments. It's programmed to disable, not destroy, because we're not monsters. We're just people who refuse to be victims. Thorax felt his forearms trembling slightly. The precision required for such an attack was almost unimaginable. The discipline to build weapons that powerful and then program them to show restraint was even more remarkable. Why show us all this? He sent back to Earth. Why reveal your capabilities? The response came from Ambassador Hyun-woo. Because secrets only work until they don't. You came here with a fleet. Others will come with larger fleets. Better you understand the truth now. Better the whole galaxy knows what they're facing if they try to force us into submission. What if we had come in peace? Thorax asked. What if we had approached without weapons? Then you would have been welcomed, Hyun-woo replied. We have protocols for peaceful contact. Your ships could have stopped at the perimeter and requested permission to approach. We would have granted it. But you came with a battle fleet and made demands. That's not peace. That's intimidation. And we don't respond well to intimidation. Over the next week, more messages came from Earth. Each one revealed another layer of humanity's 300-year project. Quantum communication networks that allowed instant coordination across the entire solar system. Gravitational sensors that could detect ships from light years away. Manufacturing systems that could replace destroyed defenses within hours. Energy generation that harvested power directly from the sun. But what struck Thorax most was the unity. Every message from every human carried the same theme. Earth would remain sovereign. Not through isolation, but through strength. Admiral, his communication officer said, we're receiving a final message from Earth. It's an invitation. Thorax straightened. An invasion? No, sir. An invitation to negotiate. They're proposing a meeting in neutral space. Near Jupiter. They say it's time to talk as equals. Thorax considered the word. Equals. 3 weeks ago, he would have laughed at the idea. How sitting in his disabled ship surrounded by evidence of human capability, the word felt appropriate. Respond that I accept, but I need to consult with the Council first. The response to the Council was swift and clear. Half wanted to mobilize every fleet and crush Earth. The other half urged caution. The debate raged for days. Finally, Council Speaker Velis sent a message. He was an ancient being, one of the oldest in the galaxy. His species measured their lives in millennia. Admiral Thorax, you will attend this meeting. You will negotiate in good faith. The humans have demonstrated both their power and their restraint. Perhaps it is time we learned from them. Perhaps there is wisdom in their choice. We shall see. As Thorax prepared to leave his disabled flagship and board a shuttle to Jupiter, he looked back at the 1,000 satellites still floating in the darkness. They had become a symbol, not of human aggression, but of human determination. 300 years of silence. 300 years of building. 300 years of preparing for this exact moment. The galaxy had demanded Earth's submission. Earth had responded with a simple message. No, and they had the strength to make that answer stick. Commander Daehyun floated in the command center of Outpost Sentinel. the most remote human structure in the solar system. The station sat just inside the Oort cloud, 2 light-years from the sun. From here he could see the faint light of Sol as just another star in the vast darkness. This was the edge of humanity's domain, and he was its guardian. The coffee in his magnetic cup had gone cold an hour ago. He didn't care. His eyes were locked on the display showing empty space that wasn't quite empty anymore. Contact confirmed, Lieutenant Suman reported from her station. She was young for such an important post, only 28, but she had the sharpest eyes in the Outer Watch. 53 vessels. Mixed classes. They're not trying to hide. Why would they? Dahyun muttered. They think we're primitives. The Council fleet had entered detection range 2 weeks ago. Human sensors could spot ships from incredible distances. Another secret the galaxy didn't know. For 14 days, Dahyun's team had watched the alien fleet cruise toward Earth at faster-than-light speeds, confident and unafraid. The fleet looked impressive. The flagship was a massive dreadnought, shaped like a blade and covered in weapon ports. Around it sailed cruisers, destroyers, and support vessels. Together, they represented more firepower than most star systems could muster. The aliens had brought this force to intimidate Earth, to show humans what real power looked like, to make them understand they had no choice but to join the Galactic Order. Dahyun almost felt sorry for them. Send the data to Mars Command, he ordered. Full tactical analysis. Engine signatures, weapon systems, shield frequencies. I want to know everything about these ships. Already done, sir, Suman replied. The analysis teams have been working on it for days. We know more about their fleet than they do. That was probably true. Human intelligence gathering had become an art form over 3 centuries. Every alien signal, every broadcast, every ship design had been studied and catalogued. Earth knew the capabilities of every major species, their strengths and weaknesses, their tactics and strategies. The aliens knew almost nothing about humanity. The Council fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kuiper Belt, exactly where Dahyun expected them to stop. They were being cautious now, finally taking Earth seriously enough to scan ahead before proceeding. A transmission came through, translated into English by their computers. The voice belonged to Admiral Thorax, a 4-armed centauroid who commanded the fleet. His species was old and proud, one of the founding members of the Galactic Council. Attention, human settlement of Earth, Thorax began. His tone was formal but carried an edge of condescension. This is Council Fleet 7 Gamma. We carry an official decree from the Galactic Council. You are hereby ordered to establish diplomatic contact and send representatives to the council chambers within 30 standard days. Failure to comply will result in the imposition of sanctions and possible quarantine of your star system. Respond immediately. Dahyun listened to the entire message without expression. Around him, his crew waited for orders. They had trained for this moment. They knew what came next. Any response, sir? Suman asked. Not yet. Let them wait. The alien fleet hung in space, engines idling. Minutes passed. Then hours. The alien sent the message again, this time with more urgency. Then a third time with barely concealed annoyance. They're getting frustrated, Suman observed. Good, Dahyun said. Let them feel what we've felt for 300 years. They send demands and expect instant compliance. Now they know how it feels to be ignored. But Dahyun wasn't ignoring them. He was positioning his pieces. All across the Outer Watch, defensive platforms were powering up. Targeting solutions were being calculated. The 1,000 satellites that ringed the solar system had detected the fleet the moment it arrived and were already tracking every single vessel. Finally, after 6 hours of silence, the aliens made their move. The fleet advanced deeper into the solar system, past the Kuiper Belt, heading toward Neptune's orbit. They're crossing the line, Suman announced. I see it. Dahyun pulled up the tactical display. The aliens had just passed the inner edge of the satellite perimeter. They were now inside humanity's defensive sphere. Activate the warning system. Across 1,000 satellites, broadcast began. The message went out in 10,000 languages, including all the major galactic tongues. It was simple and direct. Turn back. This is your only warning. On the Council flagship, Admiral Thorax received the message. Through the communication link, Dahyun could hear the aliens' response. A recorded warning? Thorax sounded amused. These humans hide behind automated defenses. They're afraid to face us directly. Another alien voice, probably an advisor. Sir, our scans show these satellites contain significant power sources. We should proceed with caution. Caution? Against primitives who won't even show their faces? Continue forward. All ships battle formation. If they want to threaten us with ancient weapons, let them try. Daehyun waited. The fleet advanced another 1,000,000 kilometers. Now they were well past the point of no return. Sir? Suman's voice carried a question. She knew what was about to happen, but she was asking for final confirmation. Daehyun took one last look at the alien fleet. 53 ships, thousands of crew members, all of them about to learn a very important lesson. Fire. The 1,000 satellites moved in perfect synchronization. It happened faster than human eyes could follow. One moment the satellites appeared dormant. The next moment beams of concentrated energy lanced across space. The weapons weren't designed to kill. They were designed to disable. Each satellite fired precisely targeted shots at the faster-than-light drives of every alien vessel. The beams were invisible, traveling at the speed of light, impossible to dodge or block. 3.7 seconds. That's how long it took. In less than 4 seconds, every single ship in the Council fleet went dark. Their FTL drives melted into useless metal. Their sublight engines remained functional. Their life support systems were untouched. Their crews were completely unharmed, but they weren't going anywhere. The communication channels erupted with alien voices shouting in panic and confusion. Admiral Thorax was demanding reports from his engineering teams. Other captains were screaming about being attacked. Some were calling for retreat, then realizing they couldn't retreat without their FTL drives. Daehyun let them panic for a few minutes. It was important they understand the situation. Then he opened a channel to the entire fleet. His face appeared on every screen in 53 alien vessels. A human face, calm and cold. I am Commander Daehyun of Earth's Outer Watch. You were warned to turn back. You ignored that warning. You believed humanity was primitive. You believed our defenses were a bluff. You were wrong on both counts. He paused, letting his words sink in. Your ships are disabled but intact. Your crews are unharmed. Your life support systems will function normally. This demonstrates two things. First, we have the capability to destroy your entire fleet. We chose not to. Second, we are not your enemy. We simply demand respect. Admiral Thorax's voice came through, shaking with rage. This is an act of war. The Council will do nothing, Daehyun interrupted. Because you invaded our space after we clearly warned you. You brought weapons into our home. Under any galactic law I've studied, we would be justified in destroying your fleet entirely. Instead, we've shown restraint. You can't leave us stranded here. We won't. A rescue fleet is probably already being organized. It will take them weeks to reach you. During that time, you'll have plenty of opportunity to think about what happened here. We'll provide supplies and assistance as needed, but you will not advance any closer to Earth. Another alien captain spoke up, this one sounding more curious than angry. How? How did you disable all our ships simultaneously? That level of coordination and precision it shouldn't be possible. Daehyun allowed himself a small smile. 300 years. That's how long we've been preparing. While you were playing politics and forming alliances, we were building. While you were fighting each other for trade routes and resources, we were learning. You looked at Earth and saw a primitive species hiding in fear. You saw wrong. He leaned forward, his expression hardening. Let me be very clear. These satellites are just the first layer of our defenses. If you had somehow passed them, there are other systems. Stronger systems. Earth is not a target. It is not a prize to be claimed or a primitive culture to be absorbed. It is our home, and we will defend it against any threat. What do you want? Admiral Thorax asked. The rage had faded from his voice, replaced by something that might have been respect or might have been fear. We want what we've always wanted, to be left alone, to live by our own rules, to make our own choices. We don't want war with the galaxy, but we also won't accept your authority over us. Daehyun closed the channel. Around him, his crew sat in silence. They had just participated in a historic moment. First contact, human style. Sir, Suman said quietly. The galaxy is going to react badly to this. Probably, Daehyun agreed. But now they know the truth. Earth isn't weak. Earth isn't hiding. Earth is simply choosing its own path. He looked out at the disabled fleet floating in the darkness beyond Neptune. 53 ships that had come to intimidate and had instead learned respect. The Grand Chamber floated in the void between stars, a massive structure built by the combined efforts of 200 civilizations. Inside, Representatives from across the galaxy gathered for what they called the Universal Summit. Some breathed oxygen, others methane. Some walked on legs, others floated in tanks of liquid. But they all shared one thing: frustration with the humans of Earth. Ambassador Hyunwoo stood at the observation deck of Hanseong Station, watching the distant lights of the council chamber. He was a tall man in his 50s with gray streaking through his black hair. His uniform bore no flags or emblems, just a simple blue that matched Earth's oceans. For 30 years he had served as humanity's silent observer, watching the galaxy's politics from afar but never participating. Today felt different. The transmissions coming from the council carried an edge of anger. "They're talking about us again," said Captain Jiwon, joining him at the window. She was younger, barely 40, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. As commander of Earth's outer defense perimeter, she spent most of her time in the dark spaces beyond Neptune, where humanity had built things the galaxy knew nothing about. "They talk about us every summit," Hyunwoo replied calmly. "For 300 years they've sent invitations. For 300 years we've remained silent. This time is different. They're angry." Hyunwoo nodded. He had been monitoring the council's communications. The anger was real. How dare these humans ignore the galaxy's greatest civilizations? How dare they achieve faster-than-light travel and then refuse to join galactic society? Were they cowards? Were they primitive? Were they planning something dangerous? The truth was simpler and more complicated than the aliens imagined. 3 centuries ago, Dr. Mirai had been the first human to decode alien transmissions. Hyunwoo had read her original reports countless times. She had expected to find wisdom, cooperation, a community of enlightened species working together for the common good. Instead, she found something else. The galaxy was not evil, but it was not kind either. She discovered ancient trade monopolies that kept entire species in economic servitude. She found military alliances built on fear and coercion. She watched as younger civilizations were absorbed into power blocks, their independence traded away for technology and protection. She saw wars fought not for survival, but for profit and influence. Dr. Mirai had presented her findings to Earth's leadership. The decision that followed shaped humanity's next 3 centuries. Observe everything, participate in nothing, trust no one. Earth went dark. No responses to alien messages, no ambassadors sent to council worlds, no trade agreements or military alliances. To the galaxy, humanity became a mystery. Some species thought Earth had destroyed itself. Others believed humans were simply too primitive to understand the invitations. Both guesses were wrong. "Look at this," Jiwon said, pulling up a holographic display. It showed the council chamber, where a being made of crystalline structures was speaking. The translation software converted its light pulses into words. "The humans are a threat we cannot ignore," the alien said. "They possess faster-than-light travel. They have colonized their entire star system, yet they refuse all contact. This is not the behavior of a peaceful species. This is the behavior of a species preparing for war." Another alien responded, this one vaguely reptilian with 4 arms. "Or perhaps they are simply afraid. Some species are not ready for the wider galaxy. Perhaps we should leave them alone until they mature." "We have left them alone for 300 years, the crystalline being flashed angrily. "How much more time do they need? Every year they remain isolated is a year they could be developing weapons, building fleets, planning aggression." A third voice joined in, belonging to a creature that looked like a floating jellyfish. "I propose we send a final invitation. Not a request, a demand. If they refuse again, we should consider them hostile and respond accordingly." The chamber erupted in debate. Some species agreed. Others urged caution. A few suggested sending observers to watch Earth from a distance. But the momentum was building toward action. Hyunwoo turned off the display. "They're going to send a fleet." "Let them," Jiwon said with a slight smile. "We've been preparing for this day since the beginning." That was the part the galaxy did not understand. Earth's silence had not been idleness. While other species debated politics and formed alliances, humanity had been building. Every resource from Mercury to Pluto had been directed toward a single goal: make Earth unconquerable. The moon was no longer just Earth's satellite. Mars hosted manufacturing facilities that could produce ships and weapons faster than any alien foundry. The asteroid belt had been mined and restructured into defensive platforms, and beyond all of that, in the cold darkness of the Kuiper Belt, floated humanity's most visible message to the galaxy. 1,000 satellites, each the size of a small moon, arranged in a perfect sphere around the solar system. They had taken 2 centuries to build and position. Each one contained enough power to disable a fleet. Each one broadcast the same message in every known language. Turn back. This is your only warning. No alien ship had ever crossed that perimeter. None had tried. The satellites were visible from light years away, an obvious defensive barrier. Most species assumed they were a bluff, ancient relics that probably didn't work anymore. They were not a bluff. When do you think they'll come? Jiwan asked. Soon, Hyunwoo said. The vote will pass. They'll assemble a fleet. Something impressive meant to intimidate us. 50 ships, maybe more. They'll expect us to panic, to beg for mercy, to finally accept their invitation. And when we don't panic, then they'll learn the first lesson. Hyunwoo's expression remained neutral, but his eyes held a cold certainty. Humanity does not bluff. Far below them, Earth turned peacefully in the void. Billions of humans lived their lives, most of them unaware of the debate happening in the galaxy. They knew Earth was isolated. They knew it was defended. But they trusted their leaders to keep them safe. That trust had been earned. For 300 years, Earth's governments had worked in unprecedented cooperation. There were still conflicts, still disagreements, but on one point there was absolute unity. Earth would remain sovereign. No alien power would dictate terms to humanity. No galactic council would absorb Earth into their political games. The galaxy thought humans were hiding in fear. They would soon learn the truth. Humans were not hiding. They were waiting. And they had spent 3 centuries preparing for this exact moment. In the council chamber, the vote concluded. 52% in favor of sending a fleet to Earth. It was enough. The order was given. On Hanzhong Station, alarms began to sound. Not emergency alarms, but notification alerts. The moment humanity had prepared for had finally arrived. Captain Jiwan smiled. I should return to my post. Ambassador Hyunwoo nodded. Safe travels, Captain. Show them what we've built. As Jiwan departed for the outer system, Hyunwoo returned to watching the stars. Somewhere out there, a fleet was being assembled. Crews were being briefed. Weapons were being loaded. The aliens thought they were bringing overwhelming force to intimidate a primitive species. They had no idea what awaited them in the dark spaces beyond Neptune. They had no idea that those 1,000 satellites were just the beginning, just the most visible layer of Earth's defenses. Most importantly, they had no idea that humanity had spent 300 years learning everything about them while revealing nothing about themselves. The galaxy was about to get its first real lesson about Earth, and humanity was a very thorough teacher.